Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are returning, thanks for clicking on another video. Welcome back, so glad that you're here. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Erin, and today we're going to be getting into some more book content here on my channel, which let me explain about that a little bit more. I do 3 different types of content here on my channel: makeup videos, movie videos, which include movie reactions and movie reviews, and also some book content here and there, which includes talking about books I'm reading, recommending books, and just book hauls in general, like books I'm purchasing. So today we're going to be wrapping up all the books I read for December, and I'm also going to be posting a video probably at the beginning of the year of all the stats and everything I read in 2021, so which will be the previous year by the time I post it, but like everything all of the stats and like numbers of what I read and did I meet my goals, etc., etc. I meant to release it before the end of December, but it just ended up not happening, so I'll be recording it probably after this video. So there you go. But yeah, if you like or videos about books and reading and whatnot, then this is definitely probably the place for you. I do release a couple book videos a month, and I really enjoy talking about books here on my channel, as I've added that in the past couple of months. So yeah, think about hitting the like button by the end of this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel, of course, if you want to see more content like this. So without further talking, so December was actually a really good month for me. I read 13 books in total in December, which actually really boosted up my overall read for the year, which is awesome. So yeah, we're gonna get into those books. 2 of the books I'm not really gonna talk about because I don't think they're even worth mentioning. Really good books, but yeah, I read those on Kindle, so those were 2 books we're not really gonna mention. So I'm gonna talk about the other 11 books that I read in December, and I had sort of a theme, but also just kind of went all out and just read a whole bunch of different things. So I'm really excited to talk about these books that I read, because some of them ended up being part of my favorites for the whole entire year, because I just really enjoyed them. So let's hop on into it. And okay, here's the other thing. Technically, the book The Dark Half I finished on December 1st, but I included it in my November wrap up, and so it is included in my numbers here when I was looking on Goodreads as a book I finished in December, but I included it in my November wrap up video, so I won't talk about it again here. But technically I did finish The Dark Half in December. And then the next one, yes, oh my goodness, the next one I finished was The Haunting of Hill House. I finished it on December 4th, and I actually read most of this on audiobook. I didn't think I would be a fan of audiobooks, but I started trying them. I tried them a long time ago, but I just couldn't get into it, and I ended up trying it again for The Dark Half because I really wanted to finish it in November, but I just was not able to read as much as I wanted to, and I was thinking I can listen to a part of this book at work while I'm not wanting to bring my physical copy to work and read. That wouldn't make sense. I'm a teacher. I can't sit there and be reading a book. But I do have a few minutes in the beginning of the day where I can plan or stuff like that, and I can listen to books during that time. And so I was like, let me do that. And so I started it, and I actually really enjoyed listening to The Dark Half. I finished like a third of it on audiobook. And so the next one, I was like, I have been trying to read this book for 3 months. I had it on my October TBR, I had it on my, or maybe 2 months, a November TBR, and I just kept starting it, and I just could not. And I actually tried to read this again earlier this year as well. I just could not get into it. And so I think it's a bit of it is the language, because it was released in 1960 something, 1959. So yeah, it was not clicking for me. But once I started listening to it on audiobook, I really enjoyed it. I liked the audiobook a lot, and I read some of it in the hard copy, but the majority of it I listened to it on audiobook, and I much kind of preferred it for this book in particular. And I really enjoyed this book. I thought this was really good. If I were to give it a rating, I think on Goodreads I rated it a 4 out of 5, so a B rating for me. If I were to do my little grading system I do here on my channel, about a B for me, or 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the main character, Nell, and I've also seen both movie adaptations to this. I haven't seen the TV show on Netflix, which I've heard a lot of good things about, but I've seen both the movie adaptations, and in fact the 1990 I want to say, movie adaptation to this was one I grew up on, and the 1960-ish, I don't remember what year, 63 I think, movie I really like. It's one of my favorite older movies, and so I had to get this book. I had to read this book because it's a story I really enjoy. We're basically following Nell, no, I'm sorry, not Nell. We're following no, Eleanor, as she's kind of this woman that's very fragile. She's very much a loner. She doesn't have anybody really, and she basically stakes it all to go off on a trip onto this house and stay for, I don't know how long, but stay in this house with a couple other people, Theodora, Luke, and Dr. Montague, as they're staying in this house that is supposed to be haunted, and it's the Hill House. So, did I say the title? The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. So yeah, and she's very much called to this house, and there's some very strange things happening in this house as well. And there's almost a sense of, do we know if the house is really haunted? Well, I mean, there are some things that happen that are quite haunted. So yeah, the house is definitely haunted within the movie, within the story. But there's also some elements of like Eleanor allowing it, with her already kind of fragile mental state. Hope that doesn't sound bad. She kind of allows the house to take her in a way. Take over her. I won't say too much more, but it's a great one, and it is a horror novel from like the 50s, so I enjoyed it. All right, the next one I finished was this one, Near the... Am I skipping anything? Nope, this is next. Okay, at least it's next here on my Goodreads list. I don't know if this was actually the order. Yes, perhaps. Okay, so Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This actually made it to my best of 2021. It is a horror book, and like I said, by Christina Henry. And we're basically following this young woman named Maddie and her husband William as they live very secluded in a cabin near the woods. And the thing about this, though, is that the relationship is very much abusive, coming from William, the husband. He's very much abusive and just very violent towards his wife Maddie, and she doesn't want to do anything to anger him. And so Maddie is pretty much trapped in this, and what kind of catapults the story is she finds some animal remains, and it's very much not how a regular animal would kill and eat an animal, like for, you know, subsistence, for food. It's almost like an animal that has killed this animal for fun, for sport. And so it starts this mystery of this creature that is in the forest that is very much reminiscent of like the Wendigo or Bigfoot, if Bigfoot was like extremely violent and, you know, wanting to kill animals and people. And also these group of young people that are trying to follow the story of this creature are coming into the woods also, and they also get involved with Maddie as they see the effects, or see the aftermath of her being abused by her husband. And then they start to get they start to question if she's, you know, she needs help. So there's a lot of different elements to this book. There's the abuse aspect, and there's the horror at the house with this woman, this, you know, this young lady who is fearful of her spouse. And then there's also the fear from the forest, the supernatural fear, the supernatural element that's bringing the scariness to the story as well, from this creature that is very much hunting down and is very much conniving and fighting these two forces, these two things, and she ends up getting help from these group of people. It's, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm describing this well, but I can tell you I really enjoyed this. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, which is an A+ rating for me. I just really enjoyed the character of Maddie. She goes from this person that's very much fearful and she can't fight back, to at the end of the story she really comes into her own and takes back her power. And I also love how she's able to overcome her fear of not only the creature in the story, but also of her husband. It's just really good. I won't try to say too much to kind of spoil it, because I feel like that was a little spoilery, but please, if you like horror and you like secluded type of horror as well, definitely pick this up. I'm going to be checking out more from this author for sure, because I really enjoyed this. And actually, I already checked out a book from the library by this author. Right, the next one I finished, Goosebumps, the horror at Camp Jelly Jam. I had this on my list for, I think, November or October, but I never read it, so I decided let's read it in December. Definitely didn't really fit my theme of kind of I was going for like a wintry theme, which some of the books just did not fit because I was finishing them from November, but that's fine because this was just a nostalgic trip. Not the best Goosebumps book, I have to say. Very much not the best, not like a favorite, but still one that's very nostalgic that I enjoyed. It was one that I, of course, grew up reading, and I remember the story. But very strange. Basically, these brother and sister get disconnected. They're on a trip with their family, and they decide to go into the trailer part that's connected to their truck or their family's van or whatever. And they get disconnected from the car, and they end up going down and ending up at this camp, which is called Camp Jelly Jam. And the sister notices that there's a lot of weird things happening. All of the kids are super competitive and they want to win. And once you win a certain amount of games or competitions, you get chosen to walk in the winner's walk. And then you're never seen again. And so we follow this mystery as she's trying to figure out what's happening and why her friends are disappearing, and her brother, who's super competitive and doesn't like to lose, trying to save him from doom, basically. And all the camp counselors are extremely strange. I love the cover. Look at that. That's awesome. Of course, Goosebumps are written by R.L. Stine, and like I said, very nostalgic. Not the best one though. I would give this maybe like a 2.5, 3 out of 5 stars, and the 3 is basically for the nostalgia factor, honestly. But yeah, maybe like a C minus. Yeah, C minus for that one. All right, this next one, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk about this. Dune, Frank Herbert. Oh my goodness, I feel like I've read this before some of these other ones that I just mentioned, but I don't remember. It says that I finished it December 12th from my Goodreads little printout I have here. And I have to say, I did not think I was going to like this because I made the mistake of watching a few reviews beforehand, which doesn't make sense, but they were non-spoiler reviews. And a lot of people were not that impressed with this, and especially some of the ones that the booktubers I watched that actually enjoy sci-fi, and I'm not one to like reach for a sci-fi book first. They were like, no, it's kind of oldish and not my vibe, etc., etc. So I was like kind of a little scared going into this, but I have to say this was really good. I really liked this book. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely see why the ones that did have positive reviews, and I know that there's a lot of fans of this book and series. I definitely see from their point of view as well. I see from both points of views of the people that don't like it and people that do. But I really enjoyed this. I read this majority on audiobook. It's a thick one, 800 and something pages. If you don't count the appendix and whatnot, it's like 800 something pages. And I listened to the majority of it on audiobook, which I really enjoyed listening to this on audiobook. I flew through it, and then I read a portion of it also. I read some chapters, of course, and the physical copy as well. Definitely glad I'd have the physical copy, so I want to go back and reread it. But I really enjoyed this. I thought that the characters were pretty interesting. The story was pretty interesting. There definitely was a lot of political stuff in this, even more so than the sci-fi, I would say, but there were some really cool elements of sci-fi as well. We're basically following this boy Paul Atreides, that's how they said it, and he's going to the planet of Arrakis, which I believe is his home planet, but he never grew up there, which is also called Dune. So the planet has 2 names, which was another kind of confusing thing. A lot of things have like 2 different names in this book, but we'll let it slide here. And he's basically on this journey. It's his family against another family as they're kind of fighting for control over the different elements on this planet, including like the spice. And basically his family gets blindsided and betrayed, and then he goes on this whole journey where he's like outcast, or he's like hidden, they don't know he's alive, etc., etc. And he sort of becomes like this prophet in the process of finding himself. The character of Paul I enjoyed. It's definitely kind of almost like a character that can't do any wrong. It almost wouldn't work, except for it just does. And I really enjoyed the character of Cheney and the mother as well, Jessica, I believe her name was. Some of the names in here are hilarious, but anyways, I enjoyed this book a lot. I think it's really good, and I'm actually bought the next 2 books already from Books A Million because I do want to continue the series, and I'm surprised I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, but I would probably give this a 4.5 stars out of 5, which would be like a B plus, A minus yeah, A minus for this one, because I really did enjoy it. The next book I finished right after that, so I feel like this order is wrong on Goodreads. I don't think I put the right dates, because after I finished, I'm pretty sure I read this first before some of these other books, because after I finished this, I was like, that was a long one. So I believe after that I read this one. It's just on Goodreads I didn't put the right dates. And then I picked up this one because this is also another really thick one, so I needed a break in between. I did listen to this one as well on audiobook. It really helped me. I'm seeing audiobook is great for these bigger books because it really helps you to kind of get through some of the chapters that are super long, as well as when you have, this was the longest, spoiler, this was the longest book I read this year. It's 900 something pages, like 930 something pages. So it's even longer than Dune. And it doesn't look it, but I think that's just because of how this one is. I actually have 2 copies of this. I have a hardback as well, which is a lot bigger. But this was the longest book I read this year. And I did do a huge majority of it, like I said, on audiobook. When I was at work in the mornings, I would just listen to like a chapter or 2, and I did that for a few days. Then I went on break for the holiday breaks, and so I was at home and I was able to read a lot more of it, just the hard copy of it. So I read like half of it. Also the shower, listen to your audiobook in the shower, that's a good idea too as well. But I read about half of it as well, just the book, the hard copy, which is still my preferred method of reading. Anyways, all that to say, really good, really good. This is the Wolves of Kala by Stephen King, as you can probably see. Not said that yet. And it is the 5th book in the Dark Tower series. So I started the Dark Tower series several years ago. I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. I read the first book, the second book, the third book. I think I took some time off, and then I read the 4th book, and I didn't read any of it for like maybe the past year or 2, and I was like, I have to finish this series. So I decided that I'm definitely going to get to the 5th book this year, which I did in December. Thank goodness I was able to finish this, and I really enjoyed it. I think the series is just really good. I know a lot of people can't get past the 1st book, but once you get past the 1st book, the 2nd book, which I almost want to say is still my favorite one. No, I really like the 3rd one as well. The 3rd one's really good as well. I like the 2nd and 3rd ones. This one was really good as well, but it's almost kind of like a side quest, because there's not a whole lot of getting to the tower in this one. They're basically Roland, who is a gunslinger, who's like the main character, and his quartet, which is basically like his group, his partners, his gang in a sense. Not like they're like doing crimes and things. They're basically like they're gunslingers, but they're almost like superheroes in a sense, because they're like have this extreme excuse me, gift with guns. And they're Eddie, Susanna, and Jake, and also Oi. We can't forget Oi. And they're traveling to the Dark Tower, which is the whole purpose of this series. But on the way, they get into this town of Kala, and they hear the gripes, or not gripes, it's not really a gripe, but the tragedy that happens in this town every generation is that these wolves come and they take a certain amount of kids, and they return them back later, and the kids are completely different. They're what they call ruined. They can't really survive. They can't really take care of themselves anymore. They can't, they almost like suck the brain power out of them, to where they come back and they're just completely changed. And they also die early after that. It's a sad tragedy that happens to some of the kids from this village, and they only take twins. So they will take like one twin, or and then bring them back, etc., etc. And this has been happening for generations to this town, and they don't really know why. So it's so good. There was some twists in here that were really good. There was some sad parts in here as well. There was some creepiness, of course, with Stephen King, and I just really enjoyed the overall story, even though it was kind of like a side quest. Like I'm saying, like we didn't necessarily need to go to this town to get to the rest of the story, you get what I'm saying? But it also did give us some nuggets of information that was quite important to the plot, and it's quite important to their quest to the Dark Tower. So I really enjoyed it. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads as well. So Silver Linings, I read this one on Kindle. This was a historical romance that I don't remember the author. I'm sorry, you guys. I will pop up a picture. Silver Linings, and was it Maggie Osborne? One of the authors is named Maggie Osborne. I'm so sorry, you guys. I should be more prepared. But I do have my little list here. I finished this one on the 22nd of December, and this was on the Kindle app that I read this on my phone. And we're basically following, I remember the plot pretty well because I just read it. We're following this woman named Low Down, as she has helped this group of prospectors that are looking for gold, and they all came down with what was it, measles or something. They came down with something, some disease, and she's the only one that stayed around to help them. And at the end, they decide they want to give her a prize or some kind of gift or whatever she wants. They're going to give it to her because she saved all of their lives, and the only thing she really wants is to have a child. So these men are like, okay, well, one of us is going to have to get married to her. So they draw lots, and it ends up being this man Max, who unfortunately already has a fiance back in his home state. And so, but he doesn't want to shrink on his responsibility here and be the one that like doesn't follow through with the commitment of giving her what she wants since she saved his life. So he ends up marrying her, but they quickly realize that this is a mistake and decide they're going to get divorced later on once they get to his hometown. But then they still decide to go through with consummating the marriage because it's still part of the deal that she gets a child. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense plot wise if y'all decided already to get divorced. But like 3.5 stars. Definitely not on the level of like Wolves of Kala or Dune or Near the Bone. But it was a good fun little read for December, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, about 3.5 stars. So like a C plus, yeah. The next one I read was the Milch Bride. If I'm saying that right. I will pop a picture up. I also read this on Kindle. Finished this one December 23rd. I was flying through these. I can fly through Kindle books pretty quickly though, especially romance ones, especially, you know, the smaller ones. I can read them in a day. And so we're following in this one Jackson and Hattie. Those are the main two characters in this one. Again, it's another historical romance, and Jackson has this newborn son. His wife just gave birth, and she unfortunately died in childbirth, or after childbirth, like immediately after. And now he needs someone to come and nurse his son because his son won't accept any other type of milk, and he doesn't want his son to die. We're also following Hattie, who unfortunately was gang hard, and she got pregnant, and she had a child as well. But the result of that, and also during that altercation, her father was also beaten really badly. Her father ends up dying later after she gives birth to her son, and then her son ends up dying as well. And so now she is all alone. And so this man, Jackson, is looking for someone in the town that can nurse his son, but nobody else has had a child recently except for her. So he goes to her and kind of offers her a deal. I'll help you, you know, keep your farm and your cattle and whatnot since you're alone now, if you come and nurse my son, and we'll kind of be helping each other. And so she comes there, she's nursing his son. She quickly gains an attachment to this man's son, and she just lost her own child that she didn't even want necessarily, you know. It was forced upon her. And then throughout the book, a lot of people have a really bad impression of her because they think that she's kind of a loose woman and etc. They don't know the whole story of what happened. And her and Jackson start to slowly fall in love throughout all of this situation. Hopefully that is a good synopsis, but that's pretty much the story, and I enjoyed this one. It had a lot of like tough topics here, a lot of you know, very sensitive topics, but I did enjoy it overall. And it was like, I flew through it. As you can see, I read it in about a day and a half. So I enjoyed it overall. I think I would give it the same rating as the previous one, so a 3.5 or a C+. There you go. And then the next one I read was Widow Mouse. Again, I didn't write the authors down. I'll pop a picture here. Okay. And this one was about this woman who is married, this very young teenager, which I did not like that in the book. But it's a historical romance again, so in perspective, but still, she was very, very young. The main character, female character, is very young. I think she's 16 or 17 in the book, and she's married to a much older man. It says he's graying. No, I don't like that. But she's married to a much older man, and she's been married to him for a year because she's just delivered a baby. This man she's married to, Henry, he's like a French speaker, and they've been married for a year. He actually traded her using some of his furs because he's a trapper, and her father basically traded her for fur. So many red flags already at the beginning of the story, but I kept on reading, and I ended up really enjoying this one. I really did, because the husband ends up dying. Not because I didn't enjoy it, because the husband ended up dying. Her husband ends up dying. She becomes a widow. She has a newborn baby. The husband, number one, has not been paying the rent consistently, and now she has nowhere to live. She has a newborn child. She has no food, so she ends up going to the only store owner or trade post in their little mountain town, which is owned by Jasper, a man that is nearly deaf, and he's a big, really big man. At first, they don't have the best relationship, but he allows her to stay in his store if she works, because first of all, her husband has ran up a huge debt with this man, so he allows her to live in his store and in his house with him if she can work off the debt of her recently deceased husband. And so she takes this deal because she not only has nowhere to go, she doesn't live near her family anymore because her and her husband have traveled away, but she also needs some place to be able to nurse and feed her baby and also eat herself so that she can nourish her child. And so now she has this newborn baby, which his name is Henry after his father. She's living with this man Jasper, and she's working, and slowly her and Jasper start to kind of fall in love, and there's a bit of romance that starts to happen. And we see that there's kind of a bit of controversy also throughout the story, because she's a single woman that's recently widowed, married, living with a man that is single and a bachelor, etc., etc. So we see the different elements of that. There's some different stuff with the townspeople that happens throughout the story. But overall, I enjoyed this one because of the slow build up to the romance. It didn't immediately like, oh, we're just stuck together, we're gonna just get married. There was a really slow build up to it. Yeah, we saw Jasper really fall in love with her son as well. And so I like that slow build up to it. I would give this one maybe about a 3, like a C. Just like a C grade, because overall I did All right, my last 2 books I read this year are both ones that more fit my theme of like a snowy, almost Christmassy atmosphere. One of them is a straight up Christmas book, and they're both horror. No, I'm sorry, that's a lie. One of them is horror, one of them is a thriller. So the first one I finished after, for my last 2, was The Unwanted Guest by Shari Lepena. I've heard of this author before, and I know some of her books are quite popular. I think I have another one of her books on my shelf, or I might have been thinking about getting another. It's kind of like a closed off mystery type of story where we're following all of these different characters as they've gone up to this resort, and it's up in the mountain, it's snowing, they get snowed in, and then people start getting killed, people start dying off, and I really enjoyed the mystery aspect of it. I kept guessing who had done it. It was definitely a whodunit type of thing. It reminded me very much of Clue. And so the author does a good job with that, of kind of keeping you guessing of who is the killer in the situation, which one of these guests has snapped or is a psychopath. And so it's really interesting to follow the different clues and different hints that you're getting here and there to try to see which one of them is actually the killer. There was one point, and it was towards the end, so I guess the author did her job well, that I figured out who it was, because I was like, and I don't know if everyone will be able to do that, but I was like, that's a little bit something that happens. I found it a bit strange of how this character switched so quickly, and so that kind of clued me in that might be the killer, and it ended up being the correct answer. But throughout the majority of the book, I didn't really know. I was just kind of guesstimating or guessing who it could be. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. Some things I didn't really love about this though was the fact that we didn't really get too much information about the characters. We got some information about some characters. For example, two of the main ones, I don't remember their names. There's two friends that Gwen and Riley that have come up together. They're like best friends. Little weird. I'm nothing. That have come up together, and Riley have been in Afghanistan, and so she has PTSD, and Gwen is doing this to try to get her. I don't think Gwen knows she has PTSD. She just thinks she's been weird ever since she got back, and she's trying to help her out of her depression, I guess. I don't know how this is supposed to help out of her, but anyways, it's supposed to be like a relaxing vacation for them. And then we got a whole bunch of other characters. There's like a lawyer. There's a young couple that have just got engaged that are, one of them's very well off. The fiance, the boy, the man is like really well known and very rich, and then his beautiful, gorgeous fiance. There's another couple that's came up that are boyfriend and girlfriend, and then there's an Arthur who's there by herself. There's the owner of the hotel and his son, and then there's a middle-aged couple as well, a husband and wife. So overall, the characters, I wasn't too attached to any of them, honestly. I didn't really enjoy any of the characters, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't really like any of the characters, which I guess maybe you're not supposed to, because you're supposed to be maybe assuming that any one of them could be a killer. But it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to get spectacularly, you know, different or innovative about this. It was just basically a typical thriller mystery of a whodunit type of thing. So yeah, it was okay. I wasn't too impressed, and like I said, I was able to guess who the killer was. There was another little twist after that, which hopefully that's not a spoiler, that I did kind of enjoy. I liked it, the little last twist at the end. But yeah, overall just kind of a basic story. I would give this maybe a C-. Yeah, C-, even like a D+. It was good. It was good. I think I gave it like 3 stars. And then the last one I read was Secret Santa by D.E. Atkins. This was my last. I actually literally just finished this, so I was waiting to finish this book before I filmed this video, and I have to say, being the only Christmas themed book I read, this was not a really great book. It definitely reminds me of Fear Street, which is one of the reasons why I picked this one up, and one of the reasons why I wanted to read this one, and also it fit with the December, you know, holidays and all of that. But and it was very, very short. I started reading this yesterday. I could have finished this in a day, but I was busy with something else yesterday, so I ended up finishing like the rest here just now before I filmed this video. And I gave this I think a 3-star rating, but honestly it could probably be a 2-star rating, because we're following this group of teens. There's so many different characters in this. I can't even name all of them. So many different teens, but the main one of the main girls, Dejana, she's like a really popular girl. She's rich and popular and beautiful, of course, and she invites a group of different people from her school to this island to be on here for holiday vacation, and also they're playing Secret Santa while they're on the island. So they have supposed to have bought 4 or 5 gifts, or 4 gifts, and then they're going to pick their Secret Santa before at the island, and then they're going to give those gifts throughout the 4 days that they're there, as part of this Secret Santa game they're playing. One, why would you buy gifts before you know who your Secret Santa is? And there's boys and girls on this trip. I mean, not to say that you have to buy certain gifts for boys and certain gifts for girls, but that is an aspect of gift buying, like, you know what I'm saying? And secondly, the characters, there's so many of them, it's really hard to connect with any of them. We don't really know anything about any of these characters. Honestly, they're very much like stock characters. The plot of this is not that interesting. I have to say, with it being sort of like a point horror, Fear Street type of book, no deaths in it, which not all Fear Street books are. A lot of them did, but not all of the teen horror books have to have death in them. That's not what I'm saying. But there was no real this was just really terror, kind of below average for me, and not in a sense. Definitely reminds me of the Fear Street books, and it gave me that nostalgic feeling while reading it. But yeah, just not the best book. And even the reveal at the end, I kind of figured it out beforehand, and it was not satisfying in my opinion. So yeah, if I were to rate this, I would say maybe a D plus or 2 stars out of 5. Not the best, not the best. And yeah, but it was fun to read for December. So those are all the books, you guys. I feel like I've been talking forever. I really do. This video is going to be long, and I need to get it edited and ready to post by tomorrow. So wish me luck. Anyways, you guys, thank you. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, be looking out for some more videos coming very, very soon at the beginning of the year, talking about my reading stats for this year, as well as some goals I have for reading. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video very, very soon. Stay safe.